Welcome back, tribe. As you may have noticed, I have discovered tab groups. Thank you for all the comments talking about my million tabs and to group them up. Finally figured that out. Boomer moment. Let's get into it. This conversation is from this interview, The Art Subtle of Negotiating in Relationships.
People, getting hurt in slightly funny ways.
I love it. I like the honesty. What do you think man's greatest enemy is?
So you're referring to one of the episodes I did. So with respect to the sexual marketplace, his greatest enemy is cowardice. And a lot of men are becoming increasingly afraid of women for a number of reasons. They're becoming increasingly afraid because of the Me Too movement, and they're afraid of being perceived as sexual predators. They're afraid of being recorded and embarrassed and canceled as a result of their sexual attraction to women.
Good.
And to be fair, men can be unintentionally creepy or weird about communicating that sexual intent to women.
Especially
in my experience, having approached thousands of women in real life, I've never had a woman take offense at that, but I think it has to do with the way that you approach a woman as opposed to like what exactly you say or do.
Right.
Okay. So there's that, is that men are afraid of approaching, and they're also, I think, increasingly afraid of taking a leadership role in their relationships.
What do you mean?
I think that because of the way that they've been raised in our culture, men are raised to think that a marriage or a relationship should be an equal partnership, like the 50-50 relationship.
Men were raised that way.
Women were raised that way too.
Got it, both sides.
Yeah. And I think that when men try to exercise that, they're trying to give women what they think that women want. When they are like deferential, it's like, oh, it doesn't really matter to me. What do you want to do? Or let's discuss this. A lot of women actually want a man who is leading the relationship on some level because they want to be able to look up to that man. They'll feel safe to the extent that they're confident in his competence to direct the relationship. Not all women, but a lot of women. And when men are afraid of stepping into that legitimate authority or leadership, not because they're necessarily men, but because they are competent and they have experience and they know what they're doing, they can have better outcomes.
But like you said, we're living in a world where we're highly conditioned in the West to believe in the 50-50 mantra, to believe that women and men are exactly the same and we have no unique principles or characteristics and we're all a blank slate and it's all social construct. That's complete bullshit. It's the greatest lie ever sold in this century. We are completely different, and not in a negative way. We're two pieces of a whole. And when we come together, we create something special, not just children, but greater than the individual could otherwise. That's how your great-great-great-grandpappy got ahead, because he had a great-great-great-grandmama that was really good to him. Unfortunately, the tribal politics, the culture wars that are going on in society today, this stuff is all programming, social engineering. It keeps us from really asking the true questions, which is looking up at the politicians, looking up at the corporations, those who rule us, and asking why is everything getting worse? Why have salaries and wages stagnated? Why has inflation eaten into my earning power? Why can't I afford basic necessities anymore like the previous generations? Why can't I start a family? Why can't I afford a house? Why is it so expensive to go to school? There's a million questions that we could ask. Why are we inflating the budget? Why is our debt bubble so high that soon in 10 years we won't be able to service it? It costs as much as our military expenditure in total. Ask me and I will tell you. It's all meant to distract you. Now, that's the overarching problem that a lot of the red pillars don't talk about. I haven't heard many red pillars or manosphere types or anybody on that side of the aisle that talks about the problems men and women are having come at it from the economic angle, come at it from the societal angle in terms of lawmaking, our leaders, our politicians. You could even argue that because the economic model is so broken, everything else that's going on is basically a symptom of that root problem. I mean, how would society look today if a single income could provide for 2 cars, a house, white picket fence, great green yard, big dog, and you could keep your wife at home? What if that was just the standard? You could go into a factory job tomorrow in your local town and you could afford all these things. How much of these conversations would still be had today? Seems like all the friction we're experiencing in society, culturally and socially, men versus women, all this stuff going on, is all underpinned by economic woes that we're all having. I digress, though. Continue.
I think it goes back to the thing you said around how, the ideal situation would be if the woman looks at the man like it's their job, because they're looking up at that point. And it sounds like in that scenario, the man is able to lead better.
Yeah, the problem comes, in my opinion, where the argument is the man should just be in charge by virtue of the fact that he's a man. Like if I were a woman, I would probably have a problem with that. That would be hard for me to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the ways to kind of approach this is to understand that like the person who knows should lead, and it behooves a man to know. On some level, a woman isn't going to choose a man who is incompetent.
Right.
Do you understand?
Right.
So men are incentivized by women's sexual selection criteria to be competent, to be confident, to develop their leadership potential. And it's by virtue of those developed traits or characteristics that a man can legitimately be in the position of leadership, not just because he has a penis.
Right. So what do people say? I'm sure people will leave comments like, "Oh my God, Ryan, that's sexist."
How is that sexist?
Whatever comments they leave, I'm sure they leave a bunch of comments for you, right? So how do you typically respond to these people that are just like, "That's a bunch of baloney," whatever?
Oh, I mean, you don't respond.
Yeah.
The best response is no response in the vast majority of cases. To be fair, the enormous proportion of my response has been very, very positive. I would say it's 99%.
That's really high. I thought it'd be like 90%.
No, it's very high.
Yeah.
At least according to YouTube, the proportion of likes to dislikes is always 98% or greater.
Oh, that's super high.
And
Same.
I get emails from men and women every day and direct messages on.
Same. And I know part of that is the echo chamber that tends to build up with your little audience, but the videos that go viral and quote mainstream get shown to new people, they stay in the high 98s and above. And then the spigot turns off, by YouTube because, oh my God, don't let him get seen by more people. Phone in the DHS. We're being good boys today. You see, we stopped another one.
On various platforms of people, very heartfelt messages thanking me for the content that I've put out over the years.
Yeah. I don't think you're saying like, to your point, it's like not just because a man has a penis or whatever. It's more so like, hey, this is how it is. Like, women do want someone that is perceived as stronger to them. And if that's the reason, then like, that's what that's what you should be looking for, a leader.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can be tough because sometimes women give off the vibe or they speak with their words that that's not what they're looking for.
Brad has a great question. So it's, if women want to be led, why do they fight back so much?
All right. That's a good question.
Competency test. That's really what it comes down to. Biologically, it's testing you. You got to see if you could handle a bit of pokes here and there and if the armor cracks or not. Women, that's part of their... It's known as the bitch shield, but really what it is a fitness test, just making sure shit test, whatever the name you want to put on it. She has to make sure you're competent enough before she could fully hand over all control to you. Most men fail horrendously, and it's a sliding scale. A man may appear competent on the outside, and so she relinquishes more control, but then through his actions proves to be incompetent. A lot of women fall into that criteria when they meet a Chad or a Tyrone looking dude where physically speaking, he looks like what you would imagine in your mind, but then you start to date him and over time you find out like this guy's a complete bozo. This is how women get burned. And then you could have the complete opposite where you have this like balding, short, fat looking dude with glasses, like thick bifocals, but his life is ran to the T. The dude wakes up at 4 a.m., gets after, he's running multi-million-dollar but you would never know from the outside he looks disgusting to her. He looks completely incompetent. And yes, it is tied to attraction. We just tend to, as humans, look at people better if they're more attractive. We give them more leeway. We're more trusting of them. We feel that they're more competent. And this goes for both men and women.
So the reason why a woman might fight back against a man's attempt to lead the relationship is she's not yet sure you can do it. So if she was already very sure, she wouldn't be fighting you. But in the vast majority of cases, a woman isn't sure yet. And so she's going to test the dude to see if he actually has the traits and the capabilities to lead the relationship. You can think of it like taking a car for a test drive. When you take a car for a test drive, a couple things are true. One, you're a fairly motivated buyer. People do not test drive for fun. They don't just say, I got nothing else to do. I guess I'll go down to the Honda dealership. You know what I'm saying? People test drive cars. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy that car, but they are definitely in the market to buy a car, and this is on their short list. Do you understand? So a woman testing you is actually a very good sign because it exhibits that she is highly interested in moving forward with the transaction. Does that make sense? But think about how you treat a car when you're test driving it. You don't treat a car that you're test driving well. You slam on the brakes, you honk the horn, you zip around corners, you kick the tires.
Well.
No, come on. No, you don't. Well, you shouldn't do that. The point is, you want to stress the car as much as possible to reveal any kind of latent defects or problems before you fucking sign the contract.
The actual yeah, okay, yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, as soon as you sign the contract, no one treats their car better than a new car owner, right? Yeah. So, like, you might be treating that car like trash.
It's an excellent analogy because that's essentially what we all do. We can understand that as men when you go to a car dealer. Don't ever take any of this personal. Don't let the fragile male ego thing get in the way. She's testing you because, just like he said in his analogy, she actually does like you. A woman really tests a man that she has a vested interest in. The only thing you cannot get from your woman is indifference. That's it. She could be raising the roof, angry, pissed, fuming with rage. That's fine, bro. Emotion is good. That's love. Still there. The moment your woman is indifferent to you and doesn't care what you do, what you say, anything, you lost her. It's game over. And that's the feeling a lot of most men get from their women towards the tail end when they're about to monkey branch to somebody else. It's the complete indifference. It's the, you failed so many shit tests. I don't want this clunker anymore. This car is garbage. I already busted up the transmission. All I did was put the pedal to the metal a few times, redlined the car, and it's already breaking down on me. That's what it is, man. That's a test. You're being tested to see what happens if you get pushed to your red line. Do you react negatively? Do you break down? Or do you pass with flying colors and you just bounce off the rev limiter and she has a good time and puts a smile on her face? You're performing as you should. You look like a sports car in her eyes. You are coveted. She wants you. Don't behave like a junker last beat piece of lemon shit. Don't do that. Unfortunately, guys take it personal because you think when you get into a relationship with a woman that these tests should stop. They're usually at their most numerous in the beginning, in the talking phase. And also you pass them more naturally without even thinking about it because you don't care about her, because you don't have so much invested in her. The sunk cost fallacy hasn't begun to rear its ugly head. It's only when the relationship starts to get longer and longer that you start putting her on an even playing field or maybe even above you, saying that I love my woman. It's different now. I want to respect her. This is my queen, my princess, my whatever. And that's when the shit tests that are hitting you feel personal. And that's when you start failing all of them because you feel like you proved yourself already in the beginning to your woman. But every once in a while, just like with your car, you got to see if she still got it. Does she still got it? Or, oh shit, the check engine light came on. Or, ooh, the transmission just made a weird noise. Better take it to the dealer. Either see if they can fix it for cheap, aka another little shit test just to make sure. Did he actually fail that one spectacularly in the wrong way? Or can this be redeemed? Will he pass the next one? Oh, if the dealer then tells you, oh shit, your transmission's running out, buddy. You got that PDK, that super expensive shit in the Porsche. That's going to be like $20,000. You're going to go, no thanks. I need me a new car. Same old thing, dude.
When you first show up to the dealership and if you sign the contract, you're going to be driving real slow and gingerly out of that parking lot. So don't be careful.
Right.
So like the point of testing is to determine whether there are any issues that would make the woman not confident about moving forward with the relationship. Does that make sense? Great.
You know what's interesting? I'm just thinking about some anecdotes. So I lived in Miami for a couple of years, and some people I'm like, hey, I don't think this is going to work. You know, I'm looking for peace, right? She's like, well, that's not fun if you want peace in a relationship, because like a little psycho, right?
Peace is not fun. Peace is not exciting. You're right.
Yeah.
So here's what I suggest. Like there are big differences in strategy between if you're going for a short-term relationship or casual sex or a long-term relationship or a partnership. Especially if you're a guy. If you're a guy and you're just looking to get laid, you need to err on the side of being too bold.
What do you mean?
Mode 1 for anybody that hasn't read it. the more brutally honest you are with your intentions, the more you make a woman understand exactly what you want without any apology, magic happens. I'm telling you, if you're the guy, assuming you've satisfied right guy, right time, right place, game over. If you haven't, mode one. I forget what is it Robert Greene? No, I can't remember who the author is, guys, but mode one, it's basically a book about communication with women. And there's 4 modes in the book. And mode one is what you want to be. I think the author passed away too recently. Rest in peace.
You need to be a little bit larger than life. Most guys are wallpaper, and the guy who stands out, it's easier for the woman to see him, which makes him more attractive. Think about it the way it is in most animal species.
Okay, let me give you an example. He's going the animal route, but let's just do the human route. You're at a party. There's a lot of people. Everybody's drinking, having a good time. It's a blast. Think pre-woke days, whatever. Everything's going well. There's no man hating, no woman hating. We're all just having a good time here. Party amongst friends and some mutual acquaintances, and you see a hot chick and she thinks you're pretty hot too, and it'll be counterintuitive. But if you're actually brutally upfront about what you want and go up to this girl and say, hey, I need to tell you something, pull her off to the side and tell her, I've been looking at you all night, and then get super X-rated about literally what is playing in your mind. Straight up with no apologies. Again, be careful applying this in the world today, but I'm just telling you how psychologically this works between men and women in that scenario, assuming those circumstances. And you are brutally on, because it's personally happened to me and other friends I know. You go up to that woman and you tell her exactly what you want to do to her, how you want to do it to her, and you will not believe how receptive women will be. Playing the slow game doesn't win you any favors with women. They love bold men. They love confident men. They tell you this all the time, but men aren't listening and aren't really catching on to what that means. I like when a man knows what he wants. I like when a man leads. I like when a man takes control and I don't have to think about anything. I like when I don't have to guess and my man makes all the decisions. He doesn't tell me what I want to eat. We just go get something to eat. He tells me what to put on. These are all small versions of mode one. But this is what he's talking about when he means the boldness. And again, we're just using that exact scenario in those exact circumstances. Some guys that may have experienced this before can attest to it. If not, sorry you missed out, bro. God, that was an amazing time before all this gender war shit happened.
It's the peacock, not the peahen, who has the bright, ostentatious plumage. And that's a sign of his, let's say, genetic fitness or his physical health, which translates into his reproductive opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's like when men are a little too bold, they stand out. They express confidence. They express a willingness to, let's say, break some of the tacit social conventions. Like, you're a stranger. I'm not supposed to talk to you. I'm just supposed to kind of leave you alone. There is a little bit of a violation when you broach another stranger's privacy,
right?
Which suggests that you're confident and you're willing to break the rules a little bit.
Party guy.
So boldness works for short-term relationships. It communicates, I want to do this, I'm motivated, and women respond emotionally to boldness. Like, it gives them tingles, like they feel something. If it's a man that they're not attracted to at all and he's bold, they'll feel something. They'll feel disgust, but they will feel something. You know what I'm saying? And
exactly,
if you can make a woman feel something, you can generally move her in the direction of a sexual relationship. On the other hand, if you're a man and you're looking for a long-term relationship, you should err on the side of being too boring. A lot of guys are trying to vet for their wives like they're on a reality TV show. And
yeah, like vetting for one night stands. He's saying being too bold, being too flashy, showing off your money. This is why smart men hide their money, go out and pick girls up in their beaters instead of their nice cars, won't show them where they live, take them to cheap places, not cheap, but not the 5-star places either. Just testing how a woman treats you, how she behaves. If she were to find out, or if she were to think that he's just a normal guy, he really doesn't have much. And, I still love that about him. That's fine. I don't need all this other extra stuff. And then boom, he'll switch it around and pick her up in a real nice car, go to a real nice place and go, hey, by the way, I didn't tell you what I actually did for a living, but this is my real life. And you're about to benefit greatly because you accepted me when it looked like I had nothing. That's really what it is. When you're vetting a woman for a long term, relationship, don't show all your cards in one go. Don't try to be a guy 10 levels ahead and blow your wallet on the nicest places and buy her bags and try to win her love and attention that way. If you're going to be McSimpy and do all that shit, buying her stuff to win her attention with your wallet, or just simply spending cash, taking a woman out to have experiences, whether you go, I don't know, vacations or whatever it is, save that shit for the chicks you're pumping and dumping. Because you don't care about them. It's really coming down to a negotiation of, yeah, I'll buy you trinkets and bags and shoes and bullshit in order for me to get laid. Cool story. Great. Really what it comes down to.
And they're taking them out to Michelin star restaurants and hot air balloon rides and mini golf, and they're trying to do these fun dates. It's like, unless you do those things on a regular, like on a normal Tuesday, don't do those things with a woman you're vetting for a long-term relationship. Like, what do you normally do on an average Tuesday? Invite her to do that.
Sweet green.
What's that?
Signature salads.
Exactly. It's like if your Tuesday night ritual is you go to this salad restaurant it's like, invite her to come along, because you will have far more average Tuesdays in your long-term relationship than exciting dates.
You're trying to give her a preview of your life.
Yeah. And you kind of want to give her every reason to leave. Now, before. It's like, it's not going to be all fun and games. Do you still want me?
Yeah.
We might just have salad on Tuesday. Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Like that Miami girl, she would be like, no thanks.
Oh, no. She sends me memes of like, you know what's nice? 10 grand. I'm like, dude, you are never going to find the one.
Well, she's not looking to find the one.
No, she is. She sends me...
she says she is.
She sends audio messages of her crying sometimes that she doesn't have the one. I'm like, well, I told you why already. So...
Well, yeah, that's not a very good strategy for finding a long-term mate.
Let's flip to the other side then. What's women's greatest enemy?
Oh, in the context of the sexual marketplace, it's pride. Everything that a woman wants in her relationship is probably on the other side of pride. So what does that mean? This is especially relevant in the context of, let's say, ideological feminism, which says that teaches women that they're just not supposed to behave in this way relative to men. And unfortunately, a lot of the things that ideological feminism prescribes are the things that men most want from women in sexual relationships. And so it makes it harder for those men who might be authentically, legitimately attractive to those women to transact that relationship.
What are those things, by the way? Ideological feminism.
Well, what are some of the things
that they want in ideological feminism?
That it would be inappropriate for a woman to do domestic chores, for instance, or that it's somehow less than if she just wants to be a wife and a mother.
Yep.
Like the belief of ideological feminism is a woman is a boss bitch and she should be able to have everything, which it just isn't true. Like, nobody can have everything, because getting anything requires generally giving up other things. If anything, just time and opportunity. When you choose one path, you foreclose many other paths, and it's very difficult to have everything.
Trade-offs again.
It's trade-offs.
Yep.
And unfortunately, like I said earlier, a lot of women do things, in my opinion, in the wrong order, in that they prioritize, let's say, their career in their 20s, and then once they become financially established, they turn around to saying, okay, now I want to have kids and a long-term partner at 35, when it's much more difficult to get that. On the other hand, if they were to prioritize potentially getting a husband from 20 to 25, and when they reach 35, they feel like they've missed out on being an employee, they could probably re-enter the job market.
Yep.
But at 35, if they've been an employee their whole adult lives, and they feel like now they are missing out on motherhood, it's harder. This is not a value judge. That's just like the reality of the situation. It is what it is.
Got it. And
I'm interested if one day culturally we do move in that direction where women start to strategize about their future, because just the realities of fertility and age, that it may become mainstream at one point when there's a bunch of, in 2040, 50% of women will be single and childless. If that number keeps exploding upwards, which it will, that women will have a conversation about maybe we're doing things the wrong way and we need to switch it up. Perhaps we should delay career, because they'll never go back and say, no, we're never going to work. They will maybe delay career. What if the next conversation in the mainstream becomes meeting your partner, as they like to say, or husbands, having kids, and then special programs rolled out for women that allows them to enter in the workforce, say, after their children have grown up? Will there be incentives from corporations that are sprinkling down from government legislation directly? women hold a lot of power and gaining a lot more influence in government. So we will have an even more gynocratic government in the future. Would there be legislation and rules passed that help women who choose to later in life pursue career, do so with options that are handed down to them from the state? Curious. I could see it going down that route potentially because this road is going to burn out very quickly. And what I mean by that is once the national conversation starts leaning towards population implosion, national security risk, we're not having kids, can't protect our borders, our enemies don't respect us anymore, we're losing influence around the world, the economy is going to collapse, we can't fund social programs because we're not multiplying in the numbers we should, the replenishment rate is too low. Once that gets coupled with the fact that women need to start having kids. Why? Because our economy depends on it. So either we figure this out now or we're going to be extinct soon. It could go into many different ways. I'm curious. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I'll save the rest of this for another episode in the future. And we'll see you guys on the next one.